Right, so many of us, including me, were puzzled the iPad 10 got Apple Pencil 1 support, even though it had USB-C ports, and also the flat sides from the iPad Pros. But maybe that was a last minute decision, because we now have a leak suggesting that maybe a cheaper Apple Pencil was in the works, and Apple scrapped it last minute. So the information comes from Duan Ri, who of course often posts information he finds on sites like Weibo, so do take this with a grain of salt. It's not coming from a hugely credible leaker, but what they tell us could possibly make sense. So allegedly at the September event, Apple had plans to launch a cheaper version of the Apple Pencil that could have been called Apple Maker. I'm thinking that's more likely to be Marker, but anyways, this lacks pressure sensitivity tech or even a rechargeable battery. Instead, it has a chip that borrows juice from the connected iPads, similar to the S Pen. Now, the big thing about this pencil was the fact it could have been $49. Now that's a lot cheaper than Apple's current pencils. The Gen 1 is $99, the second gen is $129, and so this makes me think this was the pencil that was supposed to release with the new base iPads. Since a pencil that does not require a physical connection to the iPads makes a lot more sense than the dongle situation we actually got. Also, the lower price would have been perfect for students, and the lack of pressure sensing technology actually isn't a massive con per se, because most students are not doing artwork on this, they're going to be writing up notes, and so yeah, this could have been perfect. However, there are some sus parts about this report. For one, they say this could have worked with the iPhone, which I doubt. While the pencil for the iPad makes sense because it's a large canvas, a stylus for a small screen like the iPhone does not really make sense. And so yeah, that and the alleged September event release, those are a bit puzzling. What's even more puzzling is that Apple allegedly made 1 million of these pencils and then just scrapped them last minute. Now yes, I know in the past Apple has scrapped certain features or products. For example, Apple dropped the AirPower project last minute, and also some features of AirPods Max like swipe gestures were cut last minute due to production issues. However, in both those instances, there has been leaks because once a product enters mass production, it's very likely they get leaked. And so the fact Apple produced 1 million of these and there was not a single leak about it makes me very skeptical this rumor's legit. Like honestly, it's quite random we're hearing about this now 2 months after the September event, and there was nothing regarding this during the iPad 10 leaks. A lot of us expected Apple Pencil 2 support, and so yes, it's all very sus. And what's weirder is that this report also tells us nothing about why this was cancelled, and that again kinda makes no sense because with those previous examples I mentioned, we got tons of leaks regarding why those features and products were cancelled. For example, AirPower had overheating issues, the swipe gestures on AirPods Max had production issues, and so the fact they randomly say that Apple just killed this off for unspecified reasons again makes me doubtful about this leak. And so personally, while I think there might have been initial plans for a pencil like this, I don't think it hit mass production. If it did, we should have got leaks about this weeks ago. However, yes, I'm pretty confident there were plans to make this, because I still refuse to believe that Apple's initial plan was to give us a dongle with the iPad 10, especially since that dongle was not available to buy when the iPad 10 was released. And so yes, in my opinion, the Apple Marker might have been a legit product Apple had initial plans about. And hey, here's hoping they get enough backlash with the iPad 10 release. They do release the Apple Marker with next year's budget iPads. However, I do want to say there could have been an easy fix to all of this, and that's giving us the USB-C version of Apple Pencil 1, because I'm fine with us having to plug the pencil into the iPads, but having to deal with dongles is a pain, so eliminating that and giving us Pencil 1 with the USB-C connector would have been perfect. Anyways, let's delve into your comments regarding iPads. So how are you doing, honey? I think that's how you say it, but anyways, that username says, I have the 2020 iPad Air and spotted the iPad 10 as a copycat. The price jump from the 9 makes sense, but as an entry-level iPad, my carrier had an iPad offer with $150 off, and that makes so much more sense. I'm set for a few more years, not a power user at all. And yeah, the pricing was by far the biggest issue because the features and specifically the compromises did not warrant the high price. So Jay Sparrow regarding alternatives for the iPad 10 says, either iPad Air 4 or 2018 iPad Pro refurbished. And yes, I agree with this. Both of those are much better iPads. They have panels that are laminated, they have better accessories with the second gen pencil and of course Magic Keyboard support. And with the iPad Pro you also get 120Hz and quad speakers. And Steve Stonewood simply says, Lamau iPad 10 is trash. And yeah, I've got to agree with that. I hate the iPad 10. No one should be buying that. And Joe goes on to say the iPad 2 is better than the iPad 10, and also any iPad over the 10th gen iPad. Now actually, legacy-wise, yes, I would say the iPad 2 is a better product. If we're talking about right now, then obviously the iPad 10 is better, but yes, I do agree that most iPads are better buys than the iPad 10, specifically the older iPad Pros. Those are great value now because iPad Pros have not changed much over the last few years, and so the 2018 and 2020 models are great pickups. So Jay White says, to be honest, I don't see a point upgrading to the 10th gen iPads when I've already got the 9th generation iPads. And yes, I agree, for those who have iPad 9s, you should not be upgrading to the new base iPads. It's just not worth it, especially for the whole dongle situation, but also the fact the iPad 9's aged incredibly well and it's still an iPad I highly recommend. So Jay Edwards says, hopefully the iPad 11 addresses some of the biggest issues with the 10th gen iPads, mainly the price. If they had priced the 10 at $359 or even $399, it would have been a success, and yes, I agree with that. If it had a lower price, I could forgive the shortcomings, and I do think there is a good chance we see low prices with future budget iPads. Because Apple knows the $329 price is the key component to the budget iPad success, and so much like Apple needs a $1,000 MacBook in the range, I'm sure future base iPads are eventually going to come down in price and fill that $329 spot. And yeah, the iPad 10 in many ways is similar to the Retina MacBook Air, because initially that was way too expensive for a MacBook Air, but of course, with each generation it came down in price. Eventually we got to the M1 models at $1,000, giving us amazing value for the price, and so there is a good chance that happens with future base iPads. Now regarding bigger OLED iPad Pros, Shanti says, I am a graphic designer and the iPad Pro is a perfect tool for my work. About the display size, I think the 12.9-inch body is perfect, but I would love to see thinner bezels and OLED. And yeah, I also think 12.9 inches is perfect for most consumers, and I'm glad a graphic designer like yourself also thinks this. And yeah, so OLED's going to be a big upgrade for the iPads, so I'm excited we're finally getting it. Anyways, that's about it, but tell me your thoughts regarding these reports in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video in the link above on details regarding Apple's VR headsets. And on that note, see ya peeps.